Um, oh, one more question, because I was also thinking about this question recently. How do you handle the FTDI aspect? So, say if this was for a class, like you sell 30 kits for a classroom, and then they all have to buy FTDI cables? How do you handle that? Do you just tell them go buy the cables, sorry? Or because what I'm envisioning is that kids would be like so like anxious when they're programming this that they'll be like yanking the poor FTDI cable everywhere, or FTDI adapter shield, or whatever is on the street
Mhm, mhm.
nowadays for FTDI. So how do you handle that?
Well, that's pretty. It's a pretty good question. Um, hmm, when you have a group of people, working, you can have a cable for each group, so they can program their robot and stuff like that. But um, I don't know. For me at home, it's easier to have just one cable and program all my robots with it instead of having
Yeah.
the FTDI chip in every board.
Yeah.
Uh, Basically, I make the cables myself. They look like this.
Oh, cool.
So you buy this part from Deal Extreme. It's about $4. Then you get a telephone cable with 6 wires, and you crimp a connector to it, and that's about it. And this is a keyed connector, so you can't reverse the cable.
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, just plug it in the robot and plug it in the computer USB, and yeah, it works. For kids, I think it's better to have the keyed connector. Of course, when they remove it, they have to be a little bit careful, just not yank it, because it's not as resistant as a generic USB cable, which is encapsulated in plastic. So yeah, like this, and where you can't really break the end, but you can break the socket on the board if you're not careful, even with
Yeah.
the built-in. Yeah, so
Ah, cool. The
they
way
have to learn to be patient and careful.
that is very true. I've
Yeah.
been contemplating the same thing for RoboBird, right? Because
Hmm.
what I want is a way for it to be all through hole. But then if FTDI is not through hole, they would need the cable. And then so I'm just like, FTDI chip, $5.
See, this cable,
So
I'm selling it for $8 already made, but you can make it for about $5 cost.
okay,
So I have a tutorial how to make it on Let's Make Robots and on
nice,
my blog. And
nice.
if you just buy a kit, then just add a cable. I mean, for $3 difference, which is my work making, transforming the cable,
Yeah.
then I guess it's a lot easier to do it like that.
I was debating either, I guess now I'm debating either your solution or trying out the new at Mega 3 2 3 at Mega
Yes,
32U4.
16U.
So
Yeah,
yeah, the one with the
there's
funky loofah hid stuff,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
it's like you don't need,
Exactly. But
yeah,
for that one, you need a vendor ID, and product ID, and that you can borrow at Mel's and use that one for your chip. But if you want to sell it, you can't. You have to buy the vendor ID the product
What?
ID, and it costs about $2,000.
What?
So,
What?
so an FTDI chip or a prolific, these cables have a prolific chip in them. FTDI is the company that makes the chip. Like
Yeah.
prolific is the company that makes these chips. So this is a PL2303 or something like that.
Oh my God.
So these chips are cheaper, and
No.
I think you don't need to bother, integrating the USB to serial
Yeah.
connection on board. Just use a
Oh,
cable like that. It's a
wow.
lot more cheaper and
That's
convenient.
that's so redonkulous that everyone is raving about this board or chip, and now it's just like, oh, but we didn't mention that you need this stuff. Oh my God, what a, you know what,
Well, it was a strategy. Arduino used, I mean, they thought about it. The Chinese companies make Arduino clones, so now they can't make a clone, without buying the vendor ID. So they have to spend $2,000 to buy the vendor ID, and because they can't use the Arduino vendor ID because they will get sued anyway.
well then what about us makers? There was an article on Make saying how great
Yeah, there
this
are
is gonna
articles. I
be.
read articles about
What?
this.
Oh,
That's how I know what happens.
okay, so at least my decision has been made now. I'll be using a through-hole 328p with an FTDI cable. Awesome! Thank you so
Yep,
much,
yep.
Robotics.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's what I use too. The Atmega
Yeah,
328p, and that's the best processor for these little boards. Yeah. I thought about using a bigger one, but these Arduino, regular Arduino controllers, they can do everything that you need in a small robot. If you want a more powerful robot, then use a bigger brain. I mean,
yeah.
computer or
Computer, yeah.
ARM board or ARM board or something like that. Put Linux on it,
Yeah,
and there you go.
yeah.
Because
It's,
I thought about using the Omega and cram every little piece of code that I could think of, like driving motors, keeping track of encoders, driving like the 24 servos and stuff like that. Mega can do it, but there are so many interrupts firing over there because everything works on interrupts, and without actually having a multi-threading, it's pretty hard. So I said, okay, no, let's not go this route. Let's go modular. And then I have one Atmega 328 processor, controlling the servos. Another one controlling the motors and encoders, and they all can talk to each other, through I2C. So
sweet. Ah, that's awesome. Thanks so much for showing your great robot and explaining many things. Oh, I think something may have happened with your mic. Um, yeah, wow. I think I think a lot of people just learned a lot of things, like me. um,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Thanks again. Oh,
Listen, there is something else that I wanted to point out
oh,
for
okay.
kids and for beginners. There is a book that just recently came to my attention. There is a guy on the Let's Make Robots forum who posted about it. It's called Arduino Robotics, and I got the Kindle version, and so I can read it on my computer. I didn't want to actually get the book,
Yeah.
and I have to say it's a crash course on electronics and sensors, motors, uh, Arduino, wireless programming, and they take you, from building a blind following robot and a wall hugging robot, and all the way to a lawnmower, a remote controlled lawnmower, and a Segway clone. So
Awesome.
it's a pretty awesome book, and it has a lot of info. And if I would start, robotics right now with almost no knowledge, that would be the book I would buy. And that would
Did
quickly put me in the right direction.
did you write the book?
No, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no, no. I
okay.
just found it very, very good and interesting, and I recommend it.
Awesome. Oh, that's gonna be great for lots of people. I'm gonna check it
Hey,
out.
Mhm.
Sounds like
hey, Aaron, I had a question.
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I let the next guys talk.
Thanks for downloading all this knowledge into our brains. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yay. All right, Sean, did you say you have a question or was it
Yeah, I
someone?
was gonna
Yeah.
say, hey,
Okay.
thanks for that. I think I've seen that book on Make Robots a while
Mhm.
back. Actually, also, it's pretty awesome. So I'll see if I can download that. But hey, I don't mean to um, bring up the subject again, but you were talking about how, I mean, I ran into this problem with our first Lego League team. They were, I mean, you could either hook up to NXT with a cord every time and download a program and stuff. And I noticed that it kind of put a lot of wear and tear on the robot. So, to me, from what really helped us in the long run was the wireless situation.
Mm-hmm.
Programming the robot, and I can tell you, you can just really just download the program real quick. Now, we couldn't use that during a tournament because you couldn't have any wireless, uh, do wireless at the tournament. But when you're in the heat of the moment and kids are getting ideas real quick, it was so cool to have the wireless situation. So I went to Easy Robotics, and is that the Easy Biped? Was that the
Yes.
Easy Biped project that was on it? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so that's
Yes.
all I had.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea, actually, because, for instance, if you sell a, or sorry, if you make a, if you make a XP adapter that you plug into your USB port, and then, oh, the personal area network IDs would be tricky to match up.
Yeah,
But
You can use XBs.
yeah. When you have more than one robot around, though, you got to be careful.
yeah.
Because
Ooh.
we only had like one robot, and with the NXTs, it's pretty simple. Probably with the Arduino or XPs, it might be a little more
Yeah.
complicated.
We
It's
should.
easy. They use Bluetooth.
But it's always a learning process. That's kids learning. It's like you were saying, doing the Archie Blocks thing.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say that I've done the XP bootloading, and I found it worked extremely well. It was just as fast as a plug-in cable sync. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt to get it set up, and
Yeah.
the reset line gave me a little trouble. As I
Yeah.
remember, I ended up having to. I think the solution was putting a cap on it, or something to that effect. But basically, once you get it set up, XP bootloading is incredibly awesome.
But
Especially when you're testing motors or encoders, especially encoders, where the robot is
Yeah.
physically on a table or
Yeah.
on the floor, and you actually have to go over and pick up the robot and plug it in and jink in the new code and then set it down and test. When you can reset it wirelessly and bootload it wirelessly, it's worth all the pain in the butt there is getting it set up. I recommend it definitely.
but so say
Yeah.
you say you have say you have two robots, right? So these two robots have two XPs or one XP on them each, and you have one XP dongle to be able to program them wirelessly. both of the PAN IDs for the robots, they're either going to have to be this exact same as the dongle, or you're going to like run into some sort of issue. So how do you know, how do you direct which one you want to be programmed?
I think this goes back to our conversation we had about programming destination addresses on the fly.
Yes.
And when we were talking about meshes, we decided that it was just make more sense just to put a qualifier in front of your data and run everything on the same address. But
Yeah.
It would come down. You'd have to reconfigure the desktop XB, the transmitting XB, and you have to switch between destination addresses for two robots. Or a better solution is just turn one of them on.
No. No.
I think it works on the same network ID.
Yeah.
You can have multiple XBs with a different ID each. So when you're trying to upload code, or talk with them, you just address to that particular XB, and it should work.
Okay.
Now, how is that going to work? I mean, how are you the transmitting XB? It's on the desk.
You're gonna
connected to the laptop.
You're gonna have to.
How do you change destination addresses on the fly? API mode, etc. How does all that work?
You're probably gonna.
Oh yeah. Now I get what you're saying.
So
like you literally have to open up have a terminal program open.
Yes,
you
you have.
+++, change the destination, and then go back to your Arduino code, jig it in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not an easy task, when you have a mesh of robots running around, they're all linked through XB, and you want to program each individually. It's not gonna be easy.
I was sort of thinking here, maybe what you could do is have an Arduino inside of the dongle on the USB, and then you could obviously just have a processing sketch that says, "Hey, I'm using this ID now." Okay. Or maybe if the Arduino IDE gets even better and it sort of becomes more like processing in the way that you can have modules on it. I'm not sure if that's the case right now because I've never experimented with it. But if that were true, then...
Actually, that's pretty good.
Then you could have this module...
You could just...
Oh, sorry. You could have this module on the Arduino IDE and then just have it so that it's like a drop-down menu. Which Robobird would you like? This crazy number or that crazy number? Obviously, you would be setting aliases for those numbers somewhere in the module, but maybe that would be cool too.
How much memory does it take to run your robot projects? Like if you're using an Arduino or a Mega, how much sketch space does it take? Because I'm about to release my protocol in a little while, which uses XPs. It requires a Mega right now, but it's a full mesh network protocol where you can send packets from one Arduino to any number of 10. They can all be in the same room, and the packets are acknowledged. The speed runs about 200 to 500 milliseconds transit time per packet right now because it's debug mode and slow. But I'm curious how much sketch space the robotic stuff takes.
Less than in a 328p. Just
so not much.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a robot driving around and avoiding obstacles in 30 lines of code. I mean, it doesn't take much.
Wow. Well, I'll try to make my stuff as small as possible. The alpha I'm releasing this weekend is still the bigger prototype, but it'll you can communicate with multiple Megas and XPs together. So I'd love to see some of you, see if you guys can make at least one of you can make it work with robots.
Aaron, you sparked a good one in my brain. The XP dongle that's connected to the laptop, just add an Arduino to that with like a rotary switch or like a multi-click toggle switch.
Oh.
And when you just switch the switch, the Arduino just runs a quick routine to send the XB, plus 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 AT destination whatever, and then just quickly re-zappify the XB to talk to the other one.
Yeah.
And you just have a manual knob, and you just turn it to whatever robot you want to select. The Arduino does a super duper quick routine to re-zap the XB, and then you just hit jink it on the IDE, and it's in.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, the knob would be pretty cool.
By the way, the program that I'm running in this little robot, it uses 6,482 bytes out of 30,720 byte maximum.
Thank you. That's great information.
You're welcome. Yeah, and the microcontroller runs on 3.3 volts at 8 megahertz with internal clock with no crystal or resonator on the outside. So, and that's what I wanted to point out, that the servos run pretty good, and I ran 6 servos out of 8 megahertz processor. So yeah, it's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.